Hello, everyone. Right, can you hear me all? Excuse me. My cough's a little bit better now, but it still will affect this particular program, so just let you know about that. Now, Paul Culliford and Neptune Returns are there. Two in the house, as Neptune says, but is anyone else there? Anyone else around? I mean, can you hear me, guys? Paul and Neptune, can you hear me? Because I always do sound tests first. I'm paranoid about microphones. Anthony Morn's just turned up and says the Earth is flat. Oh, right, well, that's sorted out then. I think that's the end of the live stream. See you next time, guys. We hear you, thanks. Diego Rivera says the Earth is not flat. Do we have a globalist in our midst? All right, guys. Diego Rivera's here. We've got like 12 watching at the moment. I'm just going to share this. Oh, dearie me. I should have to have a coughing fit right at the start, don't I? Okay, I just share this on Facebook. Let everyone know where I am here. That's it. And now on Twitter. That's it. I don't use any of the others. Come on. Come on, what's happening? It has been posted, okay. Right, we have Steve 071. Hello, Steve. We have Pain and Death and New World Order. Hello. And yeah, I've got it here. Diego Rivera, I've got some there. I'm taking it now. Okay. Anthony Moore says the video stuck to a weather balloon told me it's flat, stone proof. Lemon water every day. Thanks, Neptune Returns. Hello, Sorrowable. Welcome. Clopite, greetings. Flat Earth, my ass. All right. Well, we'll by the end of this program, we'll find out if that's true, won't we? Anyway, any more people? Any late arrivals turning up? What if it's flat or not? What are the differences? Well, it means quite a lot, I think. Whether it's flat or not, I think is very important, which is what we're going to discuss this evening. So, if everyone has arrived, we've got 17 people watching. What I'm going to do, excuse me. Oh man, that's in the witches. It's holograms of Steve 071. Yeah, I've got bad flu. Sorry, I've had it for 2 weeks now. It's getting better. It's not flu-y now. It's cough. I mean, I can wait for the cough to go away, in which case there'd have been no video for the last 2 weeks. No videos for the last 2 weeks. But I decided to keep going. All the videos I'd have done, I wouldn't have been able to do. Anyway, gentlemen, what I'll do now. Who else have we got here? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Eat some raw garlic. Paul, I don't want to be free of flu if I'm going to be an outcast from society. I've been at work, Sorrowable, all right. It's not been too bad. I'm self-employed and I do a lot of things I can't really take time off sick for. Like I've got to look after dogs. But I did cancel a few gardening things. I just thought I'm not up to it. And Clopite, most of these conspiracy theories come from America, and most Americans are loonies. Careful, there's also Americans watching. We've got 27 watching now. Not Americans, not just Americans. But what I'll do now is I'm going to read a little lead off. G'day, Neil. G'day, Cobbers. And Safety Man. You're not a flat earther, are you, Ben? Well, Safety Man, I think if you keep watching, you'll find out, won't you? Now, I'm going to read a little lead off. Hello, David. David Schultz from Maine. Welcome. I swear, if I could get a telescope, I could see you, couldn't I? We could just wave across the complete flat expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. But so give us a wave, stick out your window. I'll get my telescope out. Anyway, guys, I'm going to read a little lead off. Now, Jack Dragon Juice, Clopite, full tankard, ready. Now, what I could ask you to do is, if you want to post comments while I'm reading the lead off, I can't promise I'll read your comment because I'm going to Dave's waving in. Because I get so far behind, it doesn't work. So what I'll do is, when I finish the lead off, I'll just go through the comments that people have posted, just basically get rid of any trolls. That's all I'll do, and then I'll start answering comments at that point. So I'm going to read a little lead off now about flat Earth. Steve, I've got some lemon. I've got some vitamin C as well. That will hopefully help. So you asked for it, and now you've got it. You wanted something about the flat Earth, and now I'm doing it. It's a popular request. I decided to do this, and to be honest, the reason I'm doing this video, because a lot of people thought I shouldn't do this video. There's a lot of people out there who say this is just too silly. You must just not even talk about it. Don't even mention this subject. It's one of the most controversial subjects, actually, you can talk about. And I wouldn't be surprised if a few people like unfriend me just because they know what I'm talking about. It's because I even do a program called Flat Earth. But I think it should be discussed. I think this should be discussed openly. And to be honest, it's partly an act of rebellion because, as you know, I did a video about this a little while ago, and there's been an update. I haven't done a video about the update, but YouTube announced their purging of thousands of videos, and they're reducing the visibility of many others. Now, one of the things they mentioned, not in the banning, but they called it borderline material, which they're reducing its visibility, is flat Earth videos. Now, whatever your opinion on the flat Earth, I don't see how there's any result. There's kind of any consequential effects of it. There's nothing really consequential in the real world. There's no injured party by people believing the flat Earth. If people believe some crazy religion or some ridiculous political ideology, yes, there are consequences, and we've seen them in this world in the last few years. But who honestly believes in the flat Earth is honestly going to walk into the National Institute of Geography with a submachine gun and start shooting people up? How realistic is that really going to happen? I don't think so. So the idea that YouTube want to reduce the visibility of flat Earth videos, to me, is absurd, and it's ignorant, and I think it's symptomatic of their arrogance and their narrow-minded, blinkered view of the world. And of course, all the other things I say in my video about the YouTube purge, which I did a couple of months ago, we're seeing the full effects of that now. I haven't really done an update on that video because really I cover everything in that video. So there's no point repeating myself. You know what I think about this YouTube purge. I mentioned in my comments reply video that my own visibility has dropped. I'm getting fewer I've been algorithmed basically. My videos have been recommended a lot less. You know what I think about that. I've gone into it before. So this is an act of defiance against YouTube, doing this video this evening. Also, because so many people talk about this, I get correspondence on this subject almost more than any other. And I want this video to act as a point of reference. It's like that Jews video I made. I want it to act as a point of reference. So whenever this subject comes up in the future, as it always does, in future live streams, in future comments, I have a single point of reference which I can just send people to. Rather than getting involved in a debate, I'll just say, look, go and watch that video and give me a comment on that. Now, I should come clean from the outset, right? This is going to disappoint probably about half of you and make the other half breathe a sigh of relief. But I am a globalist. I'm a roundhead. Yes, there, I said it. I believe the Earth is round. Yes, I do. The Earth is round. It's this big planet. It is floating in space in this infinite cosmos. It's not under a dome. It's floating in this infinite cosmos of space. But the truth of the matter is, whatever I believe, I personally don't believe in flat Earth, like I said. But to say things like, well, it's just too crazy to even mention is a mistake. It's immoral. It's impractical. Because the flat Earth theory is not going to go away. It's going to need deconstruction. It's going to need rational deconstruction because it's very prevalent. It's very widespread. It's very recent. I'll tell you a little bit more about the origins of the modern, I suppose you call the third wave flat Earth theory in a little while. It's surprisingly recent, but it's become really widespread in the alternative community, and there's many of its biggest stars actually believe in it. One of them is Santos Bonacci, a guy who was actually a colleague of mine on Critical Mass Radio. I've met him actually in Leicester. I went to one of his shows in Leicester. And I was on several programs with him when critical mass radio was a thing before it completely collapsed. He is now a flathead, and he doesn't only just sound to believe the world is flat. He's rude to people who disagree with him on that. He says, oh, he gets really arsey with people who believe in the world is round. I mean, the term globalist and roundhead are ones that he uses. That's what he'd call me. Although I've not actually, to be honest, I've not actually discussed this with Santos. Another guy who's a flathead is Allegedly Dave. Do you remember Allegedly Dave? He was very into sort of common law and things like that, and he was a urine drinker too. And no, I'm not going to do that. He was a big time urine drinker. He was associated with CMR as well. You might have seen him. He's a black guy who wears a poncho, wears this white poncho. He used to. I don't know if he still does, but he is a flat earther, and he's a big one too. He Allegedly Dave now goes. He went to the big conference in Texas, USA. There was a big flat Earth conference over there. He went over there and spoke. And they had a big cake, which is with a flat top, which is the flat Earth, and they had like little the Antarctic thing around the edge. That was made of glacier mints. So I'm a bit disappointed in Allegedly Dave. I mean, he had a lot of interesting things to say, but I'm not amused by that. But still, again, I'm not going to get angry with him personally. I'm not going to get angry with him. I'm not going to turn against him. I'm not going to unfriend him on Facebook or anything like that. All right, I just think it's below his usual. It's below what I would expect of him, of his standards. Same as Santos. Anyway, shall I read you the letter from Nexus? This is quite funny. This is from Nexus magazine. This will make you laugh. Where are we? Okay. Nexus magazine. I mean, I'm a big avid reader of Nexus, as I've discussed. Anyway, he says here, this is a letter. You know the letters page in Nexus. They published a couple of mine, but not one like this. Duncan, I've been a Nexus reader for about 15 years. Nexus has always been my think outside the box companion. I've recognized and then gleaned more information about various conspiracies over the years by voraciously devouring every Nexus that came my way. I've always viewed your magazine as an open-minded search for the truth. However, because of a conspicuous and curious lack of coverage on one particular and one huge conspiracy, I'm beginning to see your magazine as having a set agenda. As disappointing as it may be, where is your open-mindedness? Why is there no coverage at all about the flat Earth awakening that has been occurring this past year? YouTube is awash with overwhelming evidence that any logical, open-minded truth seekers cannot ignore. Is your magazine simply too invested in promoting the idea of aliens from other planets and the spinning globe model to dare touch this subject? My decision to reluctantly cancel my subscription awaits your response. Sincerely, Daryl, Tennessee, USA. Well, I won't read you what Duncan says in return, but they are quite doctrinaire. I know the flatties are quite doctrinaire. When I did a radio show Panama Radio about the flat Earth, I interviewed Mark Sargent. They all turned up and they were like having a go at me in the chat box. Later on, I had Niall Murphy on the same show, and they all disappeared. But they're very doctrinaire. They're very set in their ways. So you often hear people say, well, I'm going to have to put the fan on. So I'm getting hot, guys. I'm going to put the fan on. Oh, dear. I had the heating on there just to dry my clothes because... Oh, my... There we are. I hope that's not causing any extra noise. I had the heating on to dry my clothes earlier, and it's made the room very hot because I got soaked at work today. So people often say, well, people used to think the Earth was flat, but now they know it's round. But actually... what you'll find is through history, it's not that simple. You'll find that the spherical Earth model and the flat Earth model sort of have always been there, and they tend to have kind of shifted in terms of prominence in sort of like senior and junior position within the worldview of the time, the paradigm of the time. What you'll find is today, of course, with the spherical Earth model is dominant, and the flat Earth model is regarded as fringe, although less fringe than it used to be. But the truth of the matter is people just didn't think the Earth was flat. Then they understood that it was round. there's been several waves. Now, the idea of a spherical Earth is actually older than you might think. In fact, there's one dating to 250 BC. There's a map of a spherical Earth dating to 250 BC. It's like a globe. And the ancient Greeks at that time knew the Earth was round. It was a guy called Eratosthenes. He was a Greek guy who lived in Egypt. And he measured the curvature of the Earth. What he did was, it was very simple. He just used a stick to measure the shadows at particular times of day, kind of sundial-like effect. And he did it in two places. He did it at Aswan in Upper Egypt, and he did it in Alexandria in Lower Egypt in the north by the coast. And he found, by measuring the angles, he worked out not only that the Earth was spherical, but he worked out pretty accurately how big it was. Very impressive. Just with sticks and shadows. I mean, that's quite a good piece of science there. So Eratosthenes in 200 BC knew the Earth was round. The ancient Greeks knew that the Earth was a sphere. The flat Earth theory was a rival. It was a rival from the ancient world. Everyone thought it had gone away. It was big. There was a bit of a revival in the 18th and 19th century, and then there's the Flat Earth Society in the 20th century. But really, it's come back with a vengeance. And it came back I know pretty much exactly when it came back. It first emerged in November 2014, because that was when the book Flat Earth Conspiracy by Eric Dubé was published. And it literally, you can trace it all back to there, the whole thing. And it sort of gathered pace in 2015. The death of Terry Pratchett probably had an effect. Terry Pratchett was a British novelist. He wrote a series of fantasy books about a flat world called Discworld. It was flat. It was sitting on the backs of 4 elephants that stood on the back of a turtle which swims through the cosmos. I only read one of the books. There's a whole series of them. I think they're pretty good. They're quite funny. So according to the flat Earth model, the Earth is basically a flat disk, which is like the azimuthal projection, which you see on the UN flag. So it's a conspiracy. The UN know, and they're telling us on their flag. But the North Pole is at the center, and the South Pole is at the edge. Of course, according to the flatties, these poles have no meaning. There are no poles. It's just a center. There's a center point, and then there's a circumference. The South Pole is the circumference. The center point is the North Pole. And this sits underneath a dome. It sits under like a dome, either a hemisphere or a smaller segment. But it's a couple of 100,000 miles across this dome, and of course, slightly less high. And the Earth just sits in the middle under that. What's outside the dome or underneath the dome, no one knows. No, the flatties don't really talk about it much, because it's a question I'd like to know. And the weird thing is, the flatheads, where they come from, they go into some of the areas that I go into. I mean, they go, some of their worldview is based on the research that I and many others have done. When we talk about the space race and space exploration, and about how some of it is faked. So you remember my Apollo detectives video? They're very big on that. I mean, none of the people in that video were actually flatties. None of them were. But the flatties love that sort of thing, because they say, look, NASA are lying. NASA are faking the space. NASA are faking what's out in space. And I agree, yes, NASA lie. They lie about a lot of things. I mean, the Apollo detectives film was all about that. But the difference is the flatheads say that NASA lie about everything. What I'm saying is NASA lie about some things. But some things are real. The International Space Station is real. Tim Peake was not hiding out in Area 51, filming stuff in a studio suspended with wires. He was in space. He was aboard the International Space Station. I mean, most of the astronauts that go into space are telling the truth about their missions. Not all space pictures are faked. I mean, Marcus Allen makes some good points. He said there's only, the lack of photographs of the Earth is a big deal. I know, full length photos of the Earth. There's only one we know of. It was taken by Apollo 8, and that is strange. But it's not because of the flat Earth. It's not because the Earth is bloody flat. That's not why NASA are lying. Now, there's a lot of other things. There's some things to do with gravity and motion. There's some motion evidence. Now, what you'll find with the flatheads is they say things like, well, when He said, I spoke to a guy in the army. He was a sniper, and he says when you take a shot at someone long distance, you don't take into account the Coriolis effect. The Coriolis effect is basically an effect of being on a spinning. It's an inertial effect of being on a spinning, rotating object, and you see it with things like the Foucault pendulum. It measures the Coriolis effect. And the truth of the matter is, if you are shooting at somebody on a battlefield over a mile or so, the Coriolis effect is absolutely negligible. It's in a sense you'd have to be on like a record turntable or something for the effect. And indeed, if you've ever been on one of those kids' roundabouts, you could feel the Coriolis effect if you get onto one of those children's roundabouts and spins round, or like a carousel at the fair. Try waving your arms in the end. Yeah, they sort of starts doing strange things. That's the Coriolis effect. But you see, the Coriolis effect is dependent on inertia, and when you are going, when you're spinning around, when you're rotating, if the carousel is rotating just once every 24 hours, you wouldn't feel any Coriolis effect. And people say, well, the Earth is bigger, it's moving faster, you're moving at 12,000 miles an hour. Yes, but it's to do with velocity change. It doesn't matter. It's exactly this, whether you're on a 20-foot carousel or an 8,000-mile wide planet. It makes no difference. If you're rotating once every 24 hours, the inertia is exactly the same. And the same goes for aircraft's inertial navigation. One of the things people say to me, one of the flatheads, they say that, well, why don't planes just fly off into space? Because their navigation system, their gyroscopes don't take into account the rotation of the Earth. They basically set as if the Earth was flat. So why don't the airplanes fly off into space? Well, there's several reasons for that. One of them is aircraft limitations in altitude. But there's other reasons. Another reason is simply because when we in a sense, we live within the illusion of a flat world, which is why people may think the Earth is flat, because the Earth appears to be flat in many ways, because up is always that way and down is always that way. Up is always away from the center of the Earth. Down is always towards the center of the Earth because of the gravitational field. This is how the gravitational field works. So in a sense, I went to Australia a few years ago, and I was talking to my daughter on the phone from Australia. Now, relative to each other, we were almost at like a 160-degree angle from each other. Yet for me, up was still that way. Well, if we compared it, obviously the angles would be completely different because we're on opposite hemispheres. But for both of us, up was that way, down was that way. Down is towards the center of the Earth. So that's another thing. Now, another thing, they will say things. They'll show you the azimuthal projection, and they'll say things. Why is it when you fly from Cape Town, South Africa, to Buenos Aires in Argentina, why is it you have to go north? Why can't you just fly over the South Pole? The most direct route is to fly across the Southern Ocean and across the Antarctic continent. Planes never do that. Why? They fly over the North Pole. Why don't they fly over the South Pole? Well, the reason, I spoke to Colin Wolford, of course, who works for an airline. I won't say which one. If I mention the name of his airline, he'd be at Job Centre Plus next week. Primarily the reason is because if you're flying over Antarctica, you're flying over a vast uninhabited area. There's no way you can make an emergency landing. If you happen to land on the ice cap, right, you'll be in big trouble. It's freezing cold, and it could take a very long time for rescuers to reach you because it's it'll be very difficult for rescue to come and pick you up. It could take God knows how long in Antarctica. Now, the passengers would all die of cold long before they were rescued. You might say, well, they fly over the North Pole. It's cold there. Yes, but the North Pole is an ocean surrounded by land. The South Pole is land surrounded by ocean. The South Pole, Antarctica, is thousands of miles from anywhere. The North Pole is within a few hundred. The North Pole itself is within a few hundred. I think it's 800 miles of Hammerfest in Norway, which is the most northerly town where there is an airfield. So 800 miles is not far to go if you need to rescue people. On Antarctica, you're talking about 3,000 to 4,000 miles. That is why airlines do not fly over the Antarctic continent. Now, there's a guy called Samuel Rowbottom who did an experiment on a canal in England, a very straight, long canal. He did an experiment using a series of sticks, which he actually attached end to end. And what he said was that if the Earth is round, you'll get some divergence between the sticks, which he was like holding out, he was like attaching end to end in a straight line, and the Earth's surface itself. Well, and he measured it very carefully. He had a tape measure. The thing about it is, though, these sticks, I mean, obviously a wooden stick is a very stiff thing, but in order for that experiment to work, the sticks laid end to end would have to be completely rigid. And there's no way that's possible. Even if it was made of steel, you would get it would sag. In other words, it would be like the aircraft's navigation gyros. It would essentially fit in with the illusion, you know, up is always that way, down is always that way. The weirdest thing the flatheads say is when they talk about the horizon. They talk about the horizon because they have an explanation for why we have a horizon, because the horizon for me is a very obvious piece of evidence that we live on a spherical Earth. It's essentially virtually proof of the spherical Earth model. And I asked Mark Sargent when I interviewed him about this, and to be honest, I didn't completely understand his answer, but he he says it's created by the vanishing point. You know, like you have perspectives, you like get a chart, and this is in Eric Dubé's book. I read Eric Dubé's book, The Flat Earth Conspiracy, so I have looked at both sides of this. I mean, this list of these notes I've made are very much from reading that book, which I read a couple of years ago before I interviewed Mark Sargent. By the way, my interview with him is on his YouTube channel if you want to watch it there as well. It's on my Hapanmo radio too. You see, if you're on a railway track and you look into the distance, it's a straight railway track, you get a vanishing point. You see it seems to converge to like that. And he said, well, the horizon is just a long row of those. And the reason you get like a horizon is simply distance. And he says you can actually alter the horizon. The horizon itself changes. For instance, if you use a telescope. So the horizon essentially can be altered by using a zoom function on a camera or with a telescope. You just increase the vanishing point, just goes further, and in a sense, the horizon is an infinite line of vanishing points. This doesn't make sense. Now, again, I'm not a supporter of NASA, and I've never been into space. But you don't have to go into space to see the Earth as a sphere. I went to Skegness, beautiful seaside resort on the east coast of England. Now, offshore, there's an offshore wind farm just over the horizon. And you can see it on a clear day, but you'll see the blades going round. You'll see the rotors spinning. And I saw this, but you can't see the base. You can just see the rotors spinning. They look like they're spinning just above the surface of the water. Because the bottom half, the top half you can see, essentially you're looking over a hill, like. The top half you can see spinning round. The bottom half is hidden by the curvature of the Earth. So, I mean, on that, you don't have to go to space. And this would have been, people noticed this sort of thing long ago, which is why the ancient Greeks knew this. I mean, Eratosthenes may have got the idea simply by standing at the harbour, looking at ships coming in and out. You can see them if you've got sharp eyes, especially if you have like a device, like a visual device, like a telescope, you can see very clearly that the ships sink. They don't just disappear, they sink below the horizon slowly. You don't need high altitude travel to prove the Earth is a sphere. And also, I mean, you just got to think to yourself, look at other things. The Humber Road Bridge. The Humber Road Bridge it used to be the longest bridge in the world. It's a single span. It's still one of the longest. I think there's a few that have surpassed it now. For many years, it was the world's longest bridge, 1.38 miles, single span suspension bridge across the Humber estuary between Lincolnshire and the East Riding and Yorkshire at Hull. Now, the people who built it had to take into account the curvature of the Earth because it's such a long bridge. It consists of 2 uprights. It's a very similar design to the Golden Gate, which you see in San Francisco, USA. Because it's so long, they had to take into account the curvature of the Earth, because these 2 uprights, they diverge slightly. So the tops are 1.7 inches further apart than the bottoms. Why? Because the Earth is curved. If the Earth was flat, that bridge would be wonky. Now, you've got to ask yourself just another thing. What we see when we look up into the sky, we see the cosmos. We see a visual image of the cosmos. We see the celestial sphere, stars, planets, galaxies, nebulae, a vast amount of it, which changes according to our position around the sun. It's called parallax. Now, if that's fake, which it would have to be, if the flatties are correct, if that's fake, it's a very, very clever piece of IMAX, isn't it? And there's no mistakes on it. I mean, you never see any flickers. It doesn't cut out. No signs come up saying, terribly sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We will resume the showing as soon as we can. So it works perfectly. It's very complex. Where's the projector? Is it down here on Earth? Is it artificial or is it natural? I mean, if it's... Where's it come from? Where's it come from? I mean, it must be a good reason for it, because basically we are seeing, when we look up in the sky, exactly what we would see if the globe model was correct. Yet it's fake. So we're seeing what we would expect to see if the globe model was correct. Indeed, people like Galileo and others worked out that the Earth orbits the sun rather than the sun orbiting the Earth. Things like that. They did it by observing these heavens. It's an old projector too. It goes back a long way, because obviously astronomy is very ancient, and people in the ancient world used to look at the stars and map them and things like that. So it's a very old projector, isn't it? So who built the projector? And why are they doing it? Why are they making us believe we live on this, why are they making us see this illusion around us? And it's like they want to fool us into believing we're on a globe Earth. And the question is, why? Why would anyone who's God, or whoever it was who built the projector, God's projector, why would he want to fool us into thinking we live on a globe Earth when we actually live on a flat Earth? And if we live on a flat Earth, why would the Illuminati cover this up? Why would people cover it up? Because according to the flatties, it's a conspiracy. The title of Dubé's book, The Flat Earth Conspiracy. Why? Why would they bother? What's in it for them to pretend we live on this ball in space? I've heard very devout religious people saying it's to make us think we're small and little in it and things like that. We're tiny little, we're just a tiny speck, a pale blue dot, as Carl Sagan said, so that we become atheists and we don't follow the Lord's way and stuff like that. And I thought that's a rather elaborate length to go to stop us going to church. I mean, besides it doesn't work, there's plenty of Christians actually do believe the Earth is I'm quite happy with the idea that the Earth is not flat. Now, as I said, I am a globalist. I'm still a globalist. I've not heard anyone convince me otherwise. And I'm as you just heard, it's something I'm willing to discuss. It's something I'm willing to talk about. I'm sure there'll be some comments now, which I'll go to in a minute. But anyway, some people suggest, I mean, Richard D. Hall has said this. In fact, Dave Cullen, Computing Forever, he said this the other day, which I thought was a bit strange. It seems to be beyond his remit, really. But Richard says this, and several other people have said this. In fact, Niall Murphy said this when I interviewed him on my Flat Earth show on Panama Radio. Is this some kind of psyop? Is it some kind of test? Are the deep state seeing how gullible the truth movement is? Are they gauging our ability to accept information that is completely false, obviously false, seeing how many people accept it? As I say, a lot of people do. I mean, I mentioned Santos Bonacci, I mentioned allegedly Dave, and there's I was going to mention another name, someone I've been involved with and worked closely with, but I won't mention that name because this is something we discussed privately, and they may not want me to. They may not want me to discuss it with you openly or reveal openly this person believes the Earth's flat. I'm not going to mention this person's name, but a lot of people within the truth movement believe this now. It's becoming very widespread. There's a film called Beyond the Curve. You can get it on Netflix, I think. It's a flat Earth documentary. As I said, there's an international flat Earth conference now. There's been one in Britain. There was a 2-day conference in Birmingham, flat Earth conference. Allegedly, Dave was there. And there's a flat Earth cruise. Do you want to go on the flat Earth cruise? They're taking a ship to Antarctica to find the edge of the world. Good luck, guys. Wonder how much they're charging for tickets. So is it a test of the truth movement's gullibility? I doubt it. From what I know about Eric Dubé, his background and the book and things like that, I don't think this is a deep state plot. This does not mean that they won't analyze the effect it has on it in an opportunistic sense. Anyway, I'm going to go through your live stream notice comments now because people posted some comments on the live stream notice. Charles declassified. We're attempting to put this right. You were hit by an unexpected asteroid which deflated your planet. We have a black hole grey pump being shipped out from Alpha Draconis as we speak. Should all be back to normal by the time the live stream airs. Well, that's good to know, Charles. But Alpha Draconis doesn't exist. It's outside the dome, and there's nothing outside the dome, and we don't talk about what's outside the dome. Alpha Draconis is just a little spot on the projector screen. So you're obviously part of the conspiracy, or you're messing with my mind again. Israel Diego Rivera Eugenio Lucentius Genius 2 says, the Earth is not flat. End of talk. Flat Earth is a Zionist, false, phony bone of contention there to distract people from the real conspiracy that is Zionism. Okay. Zionism is not the real conspiracy. Zionism is a tool of the conspiracy. But apart from that, you're correct. About it being a phony bone of contention, I don't know. I mean, that's another phrase. That's another catchphrase of old RDH. And he believes that the flat Earth thing is a deliberate psyop. Mind you, I think he believes a lot of things are psyops when they're not. He tends to, I think, jump to that conclusion too quickly. But as I said, it doesn't mean it's not being used to gauge. It doesn't mean it's being. It may be an opportunistic psyop. Yeah. But yes, the Earth is not flat. You're right about that. That's not the end of the talk. As I explained, this has to be deconstructed rationally. G2 says, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Why not join Nathan Oakley and co on a live chat if you need help understanding the place you live? Peace. I don't know, Nate. Who's Nathan Oakley? I'm happy. If he wants to talk to me, he's happy to talk to me. Neptune Returns says, Ben, in the last 2 weeks, you have uploaded over 17 hours of video. I can't take it. It's too much. There are other videos to watch. Pew. Can you tone down the length, old chap? Less is more, Oh, well, Neptune, I mean, I have been focusing on Panlo TV a lot, but that's got a lot to do with simply, it's simply the things have come about which I need to make videos about. One of them, of course, 7 of those 17 hours was, of course, my comments reply video, and there's been, of course, the Trump in Britain one. So I won't overdo it. In fact, I'll be doing less this week because I'm going to do some writing, actually. I've got to do UFO Truth magazine and something else I've got to write. So I'll be doing fewer videos this week. There may not be another one after this one for a few days. Less is more, Steve 071 says, I hope your cough is better. Well, Steve, as you can hear, it's not yet, but it is improved. It's improved since Wednesday, I think, when I did the comments reply. John Nolan said, hi, Ben. Richie Allen has been called a Jew hater now. They'll be calling him a flat earther next. Well, yeah, the term flat earther is a general term of abuse for people. They'll say things like, oh, look at him. He hugs trees. He thinks they've got souls. He's probably a flat earther. It's a general derogatory comment for people who believe things that other people think are stupid. As for Jew hater, well, anti-Semite, that's pretty much the same thing, really, isn't it? It's a label you can smear somebody with. I mean, it's like it's pretty similar to flat earther. Anti-Semite and flat earther are very, very similar labels. You put them on people, and it means it's essentially a term of abuse and a smear against their character. What if trees do have souls? Maybe they do. Trees are alive. Humans are alive. Humans have souls. Maybe trees do have souls. The Greeks believed they were called dryads. They called them dryads, the Greeks. What if they're right? And the anti-Semite, of course, is basically anyone who follows anything like the kind of things I talk about. So I'm not surprised Richie Allen's been called an anti-Semite, because we all are. It's incredibly unoriginal. It's like those moronic thugs in London last week. What are they calling me? Nazi, fascist, racist. You know, they don't even stop to think how unoriginal they're being with these slurs against my character. So, you know, if your enemy starts enjoying cliches, then you know they're on the back foot. You've got them on the defensive. Richie Allen is not an anti-Semite, and people who believe trees have souls are not flat earthers. Kloppite says DMT is the only answer. Well, I mean, the DMT thing's interesting because, Kloppite, are you the guy I talked to about Graham Hancock? Because I showed you I was reading his Supernatural again. Well, I haven't read it for a few days because I haven't had time. I've been feeling pretty awful as well. I've not been well, so I've not been really up to reading. Neptune Returns says, the tire on my car is round, vexingly can become flat. Yes, I think the earth needs a pump to pump it up. Phuket, hello, 69 Phuket, says, tire fix, hairspray. Oh, it's a reply here. Just talking aiming for Neptune Returns to say how he can fix his car. Yeah. Kloppite says, Ben's belly is round, mine's flat. Oh, really? Well, mine's kind of hemispherical. So it's kind of like probably a segment that's sort of like not quite hemispherical, but it's getting close to the hemispherical area. Nothing as it seems, says, my wife's belly is round, mine's flat, but the earth isn't svelte. Maybe because she, are a mother. She had children, so she's got stretch marks and things. Is that what you mean? I assume that's what you mean. All right, guys, that's the end of the lead off. I'm just going to go to the top, but I'm not going to actually read any comments because I'm just going to get rid of the trolls. Because there's going to be some trolls, I know. Just make sure they're gone, and then I'll start answering questions. So I did say to you, I did during the lead off, I wouldn't necessarily be reading comments and things. Hello, Fairy Low. How are you? Any rude comments I need to get rid of? No, so far you've been. I think you've been pretty good so far. You've been talking to each other. That's fine, of course. You don't have to remain completely silent. Wallace Wilson, sorry. I mean, you need. Oh, could you repeat that question? Can you repeat your comment? I'm not gonna stop to read comments now. I'm gonna go forward. Anyway, where are we? Okay, I don't think we're. No, don't. There's a couple of rude comments. I just got rid of them. Okay, so Cosmic Claire and Lime Specs. Hello, Cosmic Claire's there. Lime Specs. NASA says is here. Oh, NASA says, eh? Nathan Oakley says he'd be glad to chat with you on his show anytime you're ready. Nathan Oakley. Well, my email address, bennyj74@gmx.co.uk. It's on the Panmo radio blog. I'm happy to talk to people if they want to talk to people. Videos from the Underground says, Children calling each other names in the playground. When the children grow up, they do the same thing. Racist, homophobe, anti-Semite, conspiracy theorists, yes, etc. Naming somebody doesn't mean it's true. That's right. Richard Best, are flat earthers deeply religious? Not all. A lot of them are, but not all of them are. Some of them have a completely secular, and I mean superficially persuasive view of why they believe it. It's a very, very sophisticated pseudoscience, actually. I mean, people like Mark Sargent, I think, are completely sincere. They do believe what they're saying. I spoke to the guy, nice chap, likable. You know, you can talk to him normally, and he was very, very convinced. He had an absolute conviction of his beliefs. He wasn't trying to spin a fast one on me. I disagreed with him, but he had answers for me. I don't believe they were adequate answers, but they were still. He acted in good faith. Peter John says, would you agree that the 9/11 movement has slowed considerably since the flat Earth picked up? Peace. Your thoughts, please. Peter, yes, it has. I don't think it's necessarily because of the flat Earth. I think it's because, I mean, the flat Earth has unfortunately been quite obtrusive and disruptive in many ways. But the 9/11 movement has slowed, I think, because a lot of time has passed now. We're approaching the second decade since 9/11 now. It's going to be in 2 years' time. It's in just over 2 years' time. It's going to be 20 years. It's receding into history. So 9/11 is now being regarded more as a historical curiosity rather than a contemporary issue of which we must show activism. Nothing as it seems to. Sorry, Ben. I didn't mean my wife has stretch marks, but I'm thinning and she's not. All right. Well, just nothing. Just hope she's not watching. Otherwise, you're in the doghouse, mate. I'll tell you. Kipper Bun. Hello, Kipper Bun. Hi, Ben. I hope you're well. I enjoy watching your videos. Been following your channel for some time now. Cable Green's looking good. Should be interesting. Yes. Hopefully it will be. Yes. Grim Reaper. Hi. I'm very well, thank you. Clockbite. What camera do I use? This is a... what is it? I don't want to move it by check. It's a standard cheap webcam. But it's just a standard. It's quite a cheap webcam I got, and it seems to work quite well. So I've kept it, and I hope I'm not sweating. I'm hot. I hope I'm not sweating. Steve says, Steve 71. We are being lied to about everything. What makes this any different? Whatever we live on. Well, I think it's I suppose, like I said, it's really inconsequential. But I suppose if a lot of people believe things that are false, then we're in trouble, whether it's mainstream or whether it's flat Earth. There's it means that people are unlikely to. I mean, to be honest, Stephen Molyneux did a video about this on April the 1st. There are stupider things to believe in than flat Earth. A lot of people believe in them. Klopai says, what do your Sudanese housemates think of the flat Earth? I've never asked them. I've never asked them about it. Never. Neil Desbrandam says, Ben, my theory is that this modern iteration of the flat earthism was inspired by an increasingly mistrust of government institutions in the last 15 to 20 years and taking the Truman Show seriously. Now, yeah, I mean, there may be an element to that. I mean, general cynicism with governments, with state institutions and corporate institutions has increased enormously. I mean, I'm a product of that. And indeed, this is the reason for that is the distrust is very much justified. This is why, because the reason we always think the government are lying to us is because they always are. The Truman Show is an incredible film. It's a film with Jim Carrey. If you've not seen it, I won't spoil it for you, but it's about a man who lives in a fake world. He lives in a world which he believes is real, but it's a false world, and it's very similar thematically it's very like The Matrix, but it's also very similar to another film that's worth watching, which is called The Village. It's directed by M. Night Shyamalan, who created The Ghost, and The Sixth Sense and things like that. Not Ghost, The Sixth Sense, and several other films like that. The Village is about a group of people who live in a village which they think is real. It's actually not. I won't spoil it for you again, but like with many of Shyamalan's films, there's a twist. And the twist is that you find out later that, again, it's about people who live within an illusion, within a false world, which is a construct. It's an artificial construct designed to fool them. In the case of the Truman Show, it's just one man. In the case of the village, it's an entire community, to fool them into thinking that they're living in something real when it's not. And in the village, it's very interesting because they use fear to keep people from finding the truth. They use the fear of an imaginary enemy, something imaginary and very terrifying. It's completely fake, to keep people within the illusion. Diego Rivera says even the English Bigfoot believes the Earth is a sphere. Well, I mean, I think the English Bigfoot has an IQ of at least 80, so it'd have to. Lion Spec says, I hope my cough is, he or she hopes my cough is getting better. It is slowly, Lime Specs, definitely, but it's a lot better you'll hear now than it was on Wednesday when I did the comments reply, but it's still a bit rough. I'm still a bit rough in the throat and chest. NASA says, that's his name, NASA says, I don't think anyone knows the true shape of the Earth. I think we can safely say it's a sphere. It's an oblate spheroid, slightly flattened at the poles because of the rotation. But we can safely say it is a spheroid. And for reasons I've explained. Clockbite says the Gateshead Grey would be turning in his grave if he thought the Earth was flat. Well, if the Earth was flat, he'd probably be out in the bottom. He'd probably know what was underneath, wouldn't he? The Gateshead Grey would know what was below the disc or below the dome. Omega says, he's added something else here in Greek, which might be Omega. God separated the light from darkness by means of a circle drawn in the sea. Well, the light from darkness is simply to do with whichever side of the Earth is facing the sun. Diego Rivera, the moon is clearly a sphere. Yes, it is. Now, the flatties say it is a luminary. They call it a luminary, and they believe it's a much smaller object than we think it is. And it sort of flies around under the dome, along with the sun, which is much, much smaller than we think it is. And Diego Rivera says Ben's head is a sphere. Well, not quite. It's sort of like more, it's sort of squarish and sort of flat there and a bit rounded on top. It looks like the face on Mars, really. Winslow Burdett says, Ben, hey Winslow, Claire, Cosmic Claire, excellent movie, one of my favorites, as good as Groundhog Day, The Truman Show, The Truman Show or The Village. They're both good. Diego over The Village people. Oh. Well, that's the sort of music you like, don't you, Ducky? So my eye, says Winslow Burdett. Yeah. Steve071 says, Ben, I really think we live in a make-believe hologram. The Earth is round, flat, etc., to whatever anyone wants it to be. That's going into somewhere deeper. That's going into a kind of like a different kind of like hologram theory. And I do take this sort of thing seriously. I've read books by The Holographic Universe by Michael Talbot and the Creative Vacuum by a guy, I can't remember what his name is. And there is something to be said for that, but it's not. But obviously, this construct, whatever it is, this hologram, is a hologram which the Earth is. There is objective reality out there, and the objective reality is the Earth is a sphere. It doesn't mean, it's not like Schrodinger's cat. We turn our back and it's alive and dead. It's objectively a real object. Plankton Breath says, I'll go back up a bit. My left nut is flat. I forgot my girlfriend's birthday. Should have known better. Physics rules forever. Greetings. Hello. Diego Rivera says old people have flat bottoms. Not all of them do. There's a Tina Turner doesn't. She has a very sort of like shapely round bottom. She's old. I mean, what a lady for her age, I'm telling you. She's the same age as my mum. Good grief. What a woman for her age. Steve071 says, hope you haven't needed to cancel any public appearances. Well, luckily, Steve, I haven't. No, I've even appeared on as guests on a couple of shows. I was on Caroline Stevens' show, and I was on the Enemy Within show. And I just sort of like hit the mute button as soon as I could before I coughed. Clopite says, any theories on alien big cats in Britain, Ben? Yes, Clopite, it's they're real. I do recommend the Centre for Fortean Zoology and Mike and the various people who've been looked into that, Richard Freeman and people like that who've been examining that. Richard Freeman did a video of a sheep that had been killed by a creature that was obviously a big cat. They've somehow managed to survive in this world. What's happened is they've escaped from zoos, and some idiots have brought them in as pets, and then thought they could let them run in the garden and chase birds, and then of course they just run off. They somehow managed to survive in our climate, and they've adapted evolutionarily, and they're out there. There are leopards, there are pumas, there are God knows what else. Honestly, Diego Vera, the British Bigfoot's quite tame compared to those, isn't it? Nothing as it seems. The Village was brilliant. A good way to keep your children from running off, but it doesn't work on the kitties now. The Village, fantastic film about people, as I say, trapped in a fake world, like the Truman Show. It's very similar to the Truman Show. An entire community this time, though. Truman lives within a community of people who are collaborating with the illusion, whereas in the Village, it's just a small elite within the Village. They call them the elders. They're the ones who are managing the illusion. But they're part of the way they manage it is to make people scared of what's so they never leave the Village. It's a very good film. Do watch it. It's a fantastic film. Where are we now? We'll go back up. Pattern recognition says, is it all flat? No. Nothing's actually flat because nothing's two-dimensional. It's not flatland where even atoms have a third dimension. Limespec says, have you seen Eric Dubay's 200 Reasons the Earth is Flat? I've read it, Limespec. I've read the book. Pattern recognitions. What about the mountains? Are they flat? Well, you can find out. Climb to the top of one and jump off and see what happens, pattern recognition. That's a joke, by the way. Don't go doing it. I don't want to be sued when they find you lying at the bottom of the Matterhorn with a note in your pocket saying, Ben told me to do it. But no, they are real. They are tall. Big Q on Mount Everest. I'm sure those people who would answer your question. Omega says circumnavigation. Yeah. A lot of people. Yeah. A lot of people have been around the world, whether it's Magellan or Michael Palin. You can visit the antipodes of where you start. You can go around the world. Cosmic Claire says, Truman Show, yeah, not seen The Village. Oh, Claire, I'm sure you'll enjoy The Village. It's really, really good. NASA says, gargle with salt water every couple of hours and eat dry biscuits to rasp the irritating throat. All right, I'll try. I will try that. Now, someone called Easy Go has posted what's here? All right. Oh, it's the alien interview. Right. All right. I've not seen that. Well, thanks for the link, Easy Go. I believe the alien interview is real. I mean, the alien autopsy is fake, but the alien interview is real. Neil Desbrandam says, I believe the Coriolis effect is real, but on QI, Stephen Fry stated it isn't. All right. Isn't that a reason not to automatically trust the establishment? They aren't always right, even with the glib smugness. Oh, well, Stephen Fry, I mean, did he say there's no Coriolis effect? Because, I mean, you can feel the Coriolis effect. Just, as I say, get onto anything that's spinning. Get onto a carousel at the fair with the horses, those things with the horses. Try waving your arms around. You'll feel very strange effects. Or on a children's roundabout in a playground. That's a Coriolis effect. You can see very clearly if you take a water pistol onto one of those carousels or roundabouts and fire it away from the center, and you'll see that it actually curves. The stream of water doesn't go in a straight line, it curves. Diego Rivera, the night sky is different in the southern hemisphere. It is. I went to Australia actually, and you see different stars. Pattern recognition. Who has a dead cat? Not me, luckily. No. Well, there's one in a box over there. I haven't checked. So according to Erwin Schrödinger, it could be alive or dead. Cloverpint, would you go to Mars on SpaceX given the chance? No way. Firstly, you wouldn't be able to get there on SpaceX. So you'd have to say, look, you've got to fake it. We're going to pretend to go to Mars. You die long before you get there. You die of radiation poisoning. I would go to Mars on one of the secret space programs, anti-gravity craft. I would do that. But if you go on SpaceX, you're just going to be dead long before you get there. If anyone goes to Mars using SpaceX, then it's fake. Nothing as it seems says. Have you ever seen the green flash at sunset? I did once. No, I didn't. Nothing. I've heard of it. I've seen videos of it on. Online. It's where the sun goes down and the light shines through the water, and it's a green. You get its green glow, which is caused by basically the water acts as a filter for the sunlight coming through and hitting your eyes. It's similar to a rainbow, except it's through the water, and you see green because that's the wavelength that passes through the water easiest. Plankton Breath says, I wonder which side Steve Mumbling's on. He refuses to agree on the colour of shite. I know. Stevie's not in this chat, Steve. Conspicuously absent, Steve Mumbling. Mind you, I think it's only like about 8 in the morning where he is. Neil Desbrandon says, Ben, another film like The Truman and the Village is the 13th floor. Have you seen it? No, I've heard about it. But it sounds good. I'll have to watch that somewhere. Steve-071, water always finds its level. It does. But you see, the thing is, this is what a lot of the flatties say. They say water's level, so water can't possibly be, the earth can't possibly be a sphere because water has to be level. No, it has to, what it does is water always settles at a 90-degree angle to the gravitational flux. So it settles with up that way and down that way. And as I said, up's that way towards the sky, to the zenith, down is towards the center of the earth. Cosmic Claire says, have a couple of days in bed with a box of paracetamol. Thanks, Claire. Unfortunately, I did sort of the weekend, but I've got to work, I've got to carry on working. I've been resting as much as I can, so take a day off, said Ben, says Steve-071. Well, maybe I shouldn't have done this live stream today. But I want to get this out of the way. I want to get this subject out of the way because I don't really, as I said, this is something I want to create this point of reference and then just leave it behind. So next time anyone talks to me about the flat Earth, and I get all these numerous things about the flat Earth, send them a link to this video. And that's it. And if they say, "Oh, I don't know what I think about that," I say, "Well, watch it and let me know. Just watch it and leave a comment." Physics Rules Forever says, I would definitely go to Mars. I would too, Physics. I would love to. If I'm using the secret space program, I would go, yeah. Because I know they do go, they can go, and indeed they regularly do. If they offered me a ride, I would jump aboard. I really would. The problem is when I got back to Earth, I'd be making videos telling you all about it. But then who'd believe me? Diego Rivera says, oops, I've gone down to the bottom again. You can see that the planets are spheres, and you can see the poles on Mars. Yes, I mean, if it is a projection, it's a very sophisticated one, isn't it? I mean, there are poles, there were ice caps on the Martian poles, just like they are on Earth, and they fluctuate with the seasons, just like the Earth's poles do. Now, the polar ice cap on Earth, on both the North and South poles, it fluctuates with the seasons. In summertime, it shrinks. In wintertime, it expands. And of course, the seasons are inverted, depending on whether you're on the northern and southern hemisphere. So it's June now, which means it's winter. It's the southern winter, and the Antarctic ice cap and the pack ice around this is at its fullest extent. In the summer, which is our winter, it'll melt a little bit at the edges, whereas the ice cap up in the North Pole is very, very small at the moment. It's broken up now. In the winter, again, it'll expand, and it'll release ice cap icebergs and things like that, which is what destroyed the Titanic. The Martian poles do the same. So it's a very sophisticated false image, isn't it? And they never make any mistakes. They never get it the wrong way around. Cosmic Claire says, look at the winds on a world weather map, such as Ventusky. You can see the way the winds curve away from the equator. They do, yeah. That's the Coriolis effect. And indeed, this is what causes the Gulf Stream as well. Johnny Ball was saying this. It's not the Atlantic conveyor, which keeps Western Europe nice and warm. It's called, which we get all that warm water coming up from the Caribbean. And the reason for that is basically the Coriolis effect. Now, people have been a bit worried because they said that the climate change is going to make that weaken, which means as the Earth gets warmer, Western Europe will get colder, and we'll have like a kind of like a mini ice age here. But it does fluctuate, the Gulf Stream. It just never stops because it's caused by the Coriolis effect. James Tilly Matthews, hello, evening, fellow truth seekers. Welcome, James. Nothing as it seems. I'll flush the toilet in one hemisphere and then the other. That's true. Do you know there's actually a place in Kenya called the Equator Bar, and they actually do this demonstration. Michael Palin did this when he went on his pole to pole expedition. He went to the equator, and this guy showed by draining water from a bucket on one side of the equator and on the other that the water goes down in a different direction. Indeed, in this equator bar, the equator runs through the middle of the bar. So there's a bar. I think there's there's beer pumps on one side and on the other, and I think they fill the glass in a different way. I don't know, but it's very interesting. That, yeah. Cosmic Claire, she's lived in Africa. Yeah. When I was in Africa near the equator, I saw the moon set on its back, but in England it's at an angle. That's right, Claire. It's because you're seeing it from a different angle. So the moon's the line, the actual terminator of the moon is horizontal, whereas of course here it's at an angle. At the pole, it's vertical. That's absolutely true. And again, if that's fake, it's very well made. We're seeing exactly what we would see if we lived on a spherical Earth. Physics Rules Forever says, my nephew was just accepted into Georgia's Tech Aerospace Engineering program. I'm a very proud uncle. According to flat earthers, though, he's wasting his time. Yes, exactly. But he's not actually wasting it at all, Physics Rules Forever. So you're right to be proud of him, and good luck to him. I hope he does well at Georgia Tech. Neil Desmond says, Ben, Fry said on the show that water will swirl down a plug hole whichever way it starts moving, left or right, regardless of which hemisphere the Earth is. Maybe that's right. So is it some kind of urban myth that the water goes down a certain way? Well, maybe it only does it if you don't disturb it first. If you swirl it around with your hand or something, then it's got the momentum. It's probably going to keep going that way. But if you leave it undisturbed, it doesn't, because this guy with Michael Palin, he did demonstrate for these tourists in Kenya that it does do that. You put like matchsticks in the water and you see them go a certain way. Burke says, what? W-U-U-U-T. Hello. I don't know what that means, but welcome. Lime Spec says, where's Lime? Oh, it's going up again. I watched the comments reply vid, and you mentioned you believe the Royals are reptilians. I have to be honest, that one would seem to stretch, in my opinion. What would you recommend to back up this theory? Oh, Lime Specs is an awful lot. The work Brian Desborough does on it, the book Transformation of America by Cathy O'Brien, and of course the work by David Icke, his interview with Credo Mutwa, and there's several others as well. It's a big subject. I think there's a case to answer with it. As bizarre as it might seem, there is a case to answer. I think I've said this in my video about it. I did one called Crash of the Lizard Prince. I knew someone who was married to a reptilian shapeshifter, and it's very odd talking to her. She's dead now. Actually, she drowned. She was just swimming in the sea and she drowned. It happens to tourists all the time. She was at the seaside and drowned. It was in Spain. Nothing suspicious, I don't think, but it's talking to her. It was very odd. It was very odd. That Steve says, Mars Galaxy, Milky Way. Yeah. Do you think they'll ever find a planet or something, call it Whisper? Maybe. Diego Rivera says, when will the next manned mission to the moon be? Well, and they keep pushing it back. I mean, Obama said maybe within the next 50 years or so. I think George W. Bush said something similar. Trump has now talked about another manned mission to the moon. The thing about it is, though, I mean, we haven't had a president stand up and say, as Kennedy said, we'll land a man on the moon within a decade and return him safely to Earth. We haven't had any president say that, even though it was done using 1960s technology, apparently, and we're in the 21st century. We're in the second decade of the 21st century. So, I mean, as I say in the Apollo Detectives, it's very, very suspicious. Barack Obama says, yes, we can. Mr. President, what are you doing? You actually watching me? You know, your Trump is way better than you. He knocks you into a cocked hat. He's 10 times the president you could ever be. Miriam Gomes says, and the Mars. Well, yeah, if we go to Mars, yeah, I mean, but I think we're going to have like disclosure of the secret space program. As physics rules, whoever says 2024 at the earliest. Well, that's optimistic physics, but we'll see, won't we? I mean, they're talking about very long timescales now. They're talking about designing completely new rockets and getting SpaceX to contract it and stuff like that. Cosmic Claire says, Neil Disman, water going down a plug hole is too easily influenced by local effects for the Coriolis effect to be dominant. All right, so maybe it is just an urban myth. Armin Adams, hello. James Tilly Matthews says, where are we? Got to go back up. The truth gods demand a Nephilim Jones live stream. Then Nephilim Jones. Well, I hope they are appeased, these gods. I hope they will bless me. Videos from the underground. Hello, Ben. What do you think of all these people in the 20 and back? In the 20 and back, rather far-fetched. I wonder if everyone will believe what they're saying as time goes by because of repetition. In the 20 and back, I don't know what you mean. Sorry. I'm unspartan. Flat or round doesn't matter. God made it perfectly. Well, of course, but you know, it does matter. I think it does matter. I want to know if I want to believe that I live on a. I want to know what kind of world I live in. I want to know what kind of universe I live in. And the universe the flatheads are proposing is radically different to the one I believe, and what we believe is true. And this is one subject on which I do follow the convention. I don't follow it through obedience. I follow it through my own rationality. This is why I'm willing to talk about it. I'm open to persuasion. It's like someone said the other day about the EU. Someone accused me of being closed-minded to the idea of the EU because I said that they were closed-minded to the idea of Brexit, and they said, it was actually a member of my family, and they said I was closed-minded to the idea of the EU, and I said, no. My hypothesis on the European Union is completely falsifiable. If you could persuade me rationally that the European Union is a benevolent entity established in a single stage, openly, with the full consent of the governed, I'll stop being a Brexiteer straight away. But of course, that won't happen because it's not true. TK says the direction water goes down the plug hole is determined by several factors, such as the shape of the basin, the way the water is moving before the plug is removed. Right. Okay, TK. And TK says the position of the equator has no effect. All right. Maybe it is an urban legend. In fact, it would fit with what I was saying earlier about the sniper and stuff like that. I mean, if you were firing a missile from the North Pole to the equator, a ballistic missile, you need to take into effect the Coriolis effect. But yeah, I mean, again, there's very, very little inertia, isn't there? Because it's just a bowl. It's about that big or something, or that big. Omega says map of the square and stationary Earth. Richard Best, hello. I'm pretty sure I read or saw something which proves water can go down either way. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think what we'll have to do is try it. Like I said, wherever you try it, I mean, just run a sink, run a basin full of water, pull the plug out. You can watch which way it goes down, and you'll know, unless you are dead on the equator, and presumably it just goes straight down without spinning at all, you'll know where you are. Now, I'm in the northern hemisphere. If it keeps going around the same way, I will. Of course, if someone in the southern hemisphere wants to compare notes, That's fine with me, and we'll find out. James Tony Matthews says, what if Project Artemis lands on the moon in 2024 and still we have no disclosure? I personally will be rigid, no, livid. I don't know. I mean, that's something that probably won't happen. If it does, then, I mean, on the subject of disclosure, I'm going to have to make another video about this because there's been so much updates. And Physics Rules Forever says no disclosure of what? We're talking about aliens. Aliens, UFOs, little green men. Yeah, everything, says James. Well, of course, everything is attached to that, James, as I explained. TK says, if you want to believe water goes down drains, it's something. All right. Diego Rivera, is Donald Trump a reptile? No, he's not. He's human. I want to go back up again. Oh, wait. Oh, I mean. Yeah, my voice is cracking up a bit. Yeah, it is. The whole Tomlin. All right. That's a James is having a conversation with Physics Rules. Hudek won. She wasn't an amphibian. Hudek won. Who wasn't an amphibian? Need some dragon juice. Neil Desbrandon. Flat Earthism reminds me of the hollow earth theory. I think there's more evidence for the latter, if there's any at all. Yeah, I used to actually believe the hollow earth thing. I don't anymore, but it's far more likely. David Schultz. Yeah, I know. I've had this. It's to do with my illness, and also bit my tongue earlier. And it's painful. It was bleeding a bit, and my tongue's sore. But it's an effect of this flu. Mel O'Brien, when you sail across the ocean as I have, you see the shore and buildings behind you sink into the water. Yeah. When you arrive in New York, shore and buildings rise out of the water. Exactly, Mel. Flat Earth lol. Ironman says, God made this fish tank in 6 days and 1 day of divine rest, Sunday. Why did he need to rest on Sunday? Pat Riot. Hello, Pat. Good work, Ben. You know the subject and have been objective. Main lesson for me on the topic is do not trust NASA. Yeah, do not trust NASA. Although they don't lie about everything. But they lie. There's some things they're telling the truth about. Nothing, as it seems, says we will fake a moon landing if we have to. Well, they've done it before. They can do it again. Plankton Breath. Why don't all the flat earthers bought a RTW ticket sue the airline for fraud? Why, for not flying them into space? Yeah. Physics Rules says, do not trust NASA. Why? Oh, many reasons, Physics Rules. Look at my Apollo Detectives videos. Done several others as well. They're basically a cover for the public space program is a cover for the secret space. Watch my secret space program videos as well. The one about Trump and the Space Force. They're covering. It's just basically a cover. It's like a veneer. They use this obsolete technology and tell us it's the latest thing. And then they put out a lot of fake stuff there to distract us from what they really have, and also to keep the UFO secrecy as well, to maintain the secrecy that we're alone in the universe and there's no life out there. They've lied about Mars. There's life on Mars. They cover it up. Neil Desbrandon says, all right, it's yeah, I mean, I don't watch QI, so I don't know, Neil. Asta says spiritual so. Diego Vera, Michael Gove is a cokehead. He is indeed, isn't he? Yes. I saw. You can see you can see a little twitching in the hands, a little, that little dilated pupils. Right, he's still taking it. The thing is, like, as far as the politicians go, if you wanted to do them for like drug use and things like that and drug abuse, you'd have none of them there. You'd have to build 1,000 new prisons. It's like where they tried to prosecute Boris for lying about something he said in an election slogan. Well, what do you want to do? Lock all the politicians out? They all do it. And also, what Boris does wasn't a complete lie either. It was an exaggeration. It was a mistake. It wasn't a complete lie. He wasn't actually. I don't think he was deliberately lying. Cosmic Cloud. I believe the Coriolis effect on a macro scale. and super important in dune with sandstorms. Is it all right? The sand is why is that? James Tilley. Gove has the softest lips in politics. Yeah, well, he's. I don't like him. He's a slimy little beggar. Mind you, if he's I'll probably do another video about this. But I mean, if he becomes leader, it probably may be a good thing because we don't want the Tories lulling the Brexit Party voters into a false sense of security and maybe dragging them back into the Tory net. Let those people keep voting Brexit and UKIP. The Tories have completely buggered themselves, and they've only got themselves to blame. Let them elect Gove. Let them elect Gove, and you can go down the toilet. I mean, the whole thing is that they've changed their system of electing a leader lately, and they did it because of Jeremy Corbyn. They don't want their own Jeremy Corbyn, which is why there's a two-stage vote. The constituency Conservative Party, then the parliamentary party vote separately. They see Corbyn's election in Labour as a fact that the parliamentary party didn't have the ability to veto it, because in Labour, the constituency parties were very much pro-Corbyn, but the parliamentary party wasn't. They were all Blairites. A lot of them are split off now and call themselves CUC, Change UK. The Tories have changed the systems. They don't make the same mistake, which is why they'll probably veto Boris becoming Prime Minister. And it might be a good thing. I'll say more about that in a future video. Oh God, I hope it's not. When do they choose? Because I'll tell you what, I don't want to have to do any more videos for a while. I need to have a break. I've got to write these articles as well. Iron Man Spartan says, live more in the spirit and less in the physical world. Yeah, I mean, you know, cross it but build no house upon it. Well, life is a bridge, cross it but build no house upon it, as Akbar the Great said. Neil and Claire are having a discussion about the Coriolis effect. Lime Specs has a link here. Where is it? Oh, where is it? Got to go back up. Have I watched it? Oh no, I don't want to leave. Hang on. Have I watched this New Horizons lecture? Yes, I have. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Lime Specs. I've watched that. Yeah, New Horizons did have some flat out speakers. It's fine by me. James Tilly Matthew says, it's hard when you've experienced Mr. Gove, Mr. Spartan. Mr. Michael Gove looks like some kind of like overfed school headmaster. He's like his big goggly eyes, and he's got this sort of square face. And his nose is, you see his nose is sort of looks like a coke addict's nose, sort of a bit like thin and sort of like broken slightly. Nothing as it seems says the universe we live in isn't what they are attempting to sell you, electric universe theory. Oh, right, Hugo Rune. Is Hugo Rune still around? Because he did post an earlier comment, which I didn't read because it was during the lead-off. So let us know if you're still around, Hugo. Nothing as it seems. All right, Cosmic Claire. I'm not saying he works on. Okay. Cosmic Claire. It's called Around the World in 80 Days. Or was it Pole to Pole? I can't remember. It's one of these travel documentaries that Michael Palin made. They're quite good. Physics Rule says, I just wish flat earthers could find a single supporter who's actually studied physics. Statistically, there should be a few, but no, zero. That's true. I don't think there are any really who have physics who are knowing about. I don't think they are. I think they are pretty much. I mean, I don't want to get ad hominem here, but they do seem to be kind of people who sort of picked up this from somewhere else and come outside from the outside and picked it up. Videos from the underground says 20 and back is a military exercise where the soldier's soul is taken off by. Oh, right. Happens to know that. Fighting wars and taken back. Gaia Channel has an interview, several of them. Right, I'll check that out. It sounds an interesting thing. Right. Neil Disparand, Ben, isn't the water pistol on a merry-go-round centrifugal force? Maybe both. Well, yeah, it is. It's not centrifugal force. Of course, the centrifugal force does have an effect, which means that it's helping project water from the pistol. But what you'll find is that it doesn't go in a straight line. It curves away in the opposite direction from the direction of rotation. So if it's going clockwise, the spray will go anti-clockwise, and that is the Coriolis effect. James T. Matthews, Encounters of the Nephilim Jones kind. I'm sure that name will catch on. A shockwave should count. Doesn't let me see it. Oh dear, you sound. So I'm not going to publish that that shockwave. You sound. It sounds like a bad situation. I hope you sort it out. I'm a Spartan. I think this all is what. I think all this interest in conspiracy theories and aliens, etc., because we lost our religion. Come back, Jesus Christ. Well, I think it's not. I think it's to do with a lot of other things as well. TK, so what about the flat Earth? Well, if you just joined TK, you need to probably watch the recording. Physics rules. The best way to judge a conspiracy is by the number of additional conspiracy theories required to explain the first one. Flat Earth requires an endless number of additional conspiracy theories. You're partly right. I mean, there is another factor which I've talked about, which is the psychological element, and that is the ability, the factor, this feature of humanity on our makeup, which causes us to tacitly collaborate. There is that as well. So you probably disagree with me about the moon landings, but the moon landings is plausible, whereas the flat Earth theory is not. And we talk more about that in the Apollo Detectives video. TK, isn't it a government idea to confuse matters? Yes, so they can get on with their chemtrailing. Well, TK, yeah, I mean, the flat Earth thing is obtrusive. It's getting in the way of other things. And some people might say, well, I'm contributing to that simply by even mentioning it. I disagree. I think I'm deconstructing it rationally, which I think needs to be done. Marlon Trindale, hello. Flat Earth, ooh. God, yeah, it's Photoshop, says Claire. Shockwave, I'm going to have to delete that comment. I think you're obviously having family problems. I think you're on the wrong live stream, Shockwave. This is the Flat Earth live stream. You appear to be having some kind of domestic issue. I hope you sort it out. James C. Matthews, we must have faith in Smoke DeGrasse Tyson. Mr. Smoke DeGrasse. Do you think he does? Maybe he does. That's fine with me. I'm in favour of legalising, you know. TK, well, we're all running around wondering what gender we are and breathing in metallic air. Well, yeah, I mean, there are lots of other issues, aren't there? Coonlove says the world's fucked up, and it is. But it can be unfucked. Omega, the Bible in various passages implies that the earth is flat and circular, like a disc or pizza. As for the actual shape of the earth, I still wonder that some people consider it flat. Yeah, I mean, the Bible also has all kinds of things, such as a talking snake and a boat which is big enough for all the animals in the world. I'm not... but I do wonder. I mean, I wonder why people go into this flat Earth thing. I mean, Mark Sargent clearly has conviction of beliefs, and he's got a pseudoscientific theoretical model for it. I don't agree with him, but he's not lying. He's been intellectually honest. He's somehow and people like him, not just him, but allegedly Dave and Santos Bonacci. They've just gone down this area where you can't misunderstand these things. Omega. If Isaiah meant circular flat, Isaiah meant circular in sense spherical mystery. All right, I don't know. I've read the Bible I've not read the Bible for years. I'm a Spartan. God bless you all. Jesus has all your answers. Well, I mean, I'm a big fan of Jesus. You know, he's a good guy. If he's going to come back, I hope he does. I hope he comes back soon. Sooner the better. But you know, I'm a lapsed Catholic. You know. Okay, I'm back. Up we go. Hang on. Oops. What's happening now? Hang on. Where are we? Cosmic Mellow Brian says he's having a conversation with Cosmic Claire. David Schultz, Ben, the cracking in your voice must be my side of the pond. I'm going off now. See you later down the road. Take care of yourself. Get some rest. I will, Dave. Thank you very much, and thanks for joining. Thanks for joining us this evening. It's much appreciated. All the best. See you soon again. Shockwave is talking about Big Earthy Boy. He's small around Marzi bars. Have no disc. Drops my just ended World War III. You're welcome. That sounds like a line from a hip hop tune. Lounge Specs. I've never seen the appeal of drugs, to be honest. Smoked a bit of weed for 20 years. Well, I like a drink, occasionally, but I have had weed a couple of times. James says, Jesus built my hot rod, Mr. Spartan. Oh, right. You guys, hang on. Are you guys all right if I take a break? I'm going to go AWK for just a couple of minutes. Be back soon. All right. Play amongst yourselves. I'm just going to mute my mic. All right. So back in a sec. Okay, everyone. I'm back. So, Cosmic Class talks about Frank Herbert and the Coriolis effect, the cause of the severe sandstorms on Arrakis. Oh, yeah. I don't remember that bit, but I've read Dune. Great book. And then David Lynch film was really good. There's another. Don't bother with the other movie. The David Lynch one's brilliant. The book's really cool though. I don't remember that bit. I remember the big sandworms and things like that. But they're pretty scary. Neil Desperano said Michael Gove was in a film in the 90s with John Cleese. He plays the teacher at a boarding school. All right. Not sure. I didn't realise he's an actor. Plankton Brett said that's because weed is no big wow rhymes. Okay. Pytrus. Hello, Pytrus. Welcome. Starry, he says. Okay. Pytrus is writing in a foreign language. I don't know what that means. Oh, he's saying something. Is that Polish? I know what. Oh, God, hang on. I'm just going to run this through Translate. Let's just go. I think it's in Polish. I'm not sure if I should publish it, but let's have a look. Right, I'm not publishing that. In fact, you're a troll. I'm going to get rid of you. There we go. If you think by putting messages in foreign languages, you can't fool it. Firstly, the system speaks all languages, and secondly, I can always run them through Google Translate. All right, yeah, Claire, the matchstick thing with Michael Palin. I'm not sure. I saw it happen, but whether he sort of like, whether the guy was called a magic trick and the guy doing it just fiddled with he may just gone like that with the bowls to make them go a certain way. I don't know. Steve071 says, would you invite an FE talker to Dreaming Saucers, Ben? No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't invite a flat earther there. I think the only reason I'm dealing with a flat earth, like I say, is to just deconstruct it. It would be a waste to have one of Dreaming Saucers. Stan Smith says, hello, Stan. Good to see you. Boris won't win. They'll make sure he doesn't. Yeah, Jeremy Hunt is their boy. They want a deal. Yeah. Boris, unfortunately, I think if he would have a chance before they change the rules. But as I said, the Tories are really scared of having their own Jeremy Corbyn. And he'd be their Jeremy Corbyn, someone that the constituency parties love and the parliamentary parties hate. That's why they changed the rules. They saw what happened with Corbyn. As I said, it may be a good thing not to have Boris as Prime Minister. Because what Boris Johnson might do as Prime Minister is lure people away from the Brexit Party and UKIP. It may give people a false sense of security about the Tories. And I'll say more about that, and I'll do a video about the new Prime Minister when the new Prime Minister appears. Mike Smith, flat earthers are emos. I don't know, they don't have the haircut. I mean, for instance, allegedly Dave looks like a kind of hippie. He looks like some of these kind of. He looks like one of these Bushman shamans, you know. It's a shame, really, because I like allegedly Dave. All right, Christopher. All right, Neil says it's not John Cleese. It's a film called A Feast at Midnight. Right. Thanks, Neil. I might see that if I get the chance. Israel Diego Vera said Kenneth Noy released from prison. He was a Freemason. Yeah. I don't know much about that. David Hinkle. Hello, Dave. Got any proof of this absurd spinning globe in space? I think so, Dave. And I've been discussing it in this video. The idea of a spinning globe in space is not superb. Is not absurd at all. I think the idea of the flat Earth under a dome is absurd. And if you want to debate about it, we'll do it. We'll do it in the comments section. Or, you know, I have. Nothing that seems says Bark line current intertwining energy pathways. Line specs is talking to Claire. Dave Hinkle. Try deconstructing your absurd globe beliefs, sir. I have, Dave. I've subjected the globe, the round Earth model to, as I said, scrutiny. That's the whole point of this video, to compare it and see. Mellow Brian says, I have proof. I'm constantly dizzy from all that spinning, yeah. Stan Smith says, flat Earth is BS, it's a PSYOP. It's BS, all right. Don't think it's a PSYOP, although, as I said earlier, you can bet that... you can bet that you can really bet that there are people watching to see how we. Oh, blimey, where am I now? It's gone to the flick to the bottom again. There are people watching to see the effect it has. Dave Hinkle says, Mark Sargent does not necessarily represent all of us that are questioning the globe. I know, Dave. In fact, Mark's actually fallen out with Eric Dubay. I saw that they had like some kind of bust up. Physics says, of course there's evidence. Take a basic, physics, astronomy course. You don't even need to do that. I mean, you can there's all kinds of common sense and simple experiments you can do to prove it. As I said to Dave, as I said in this video, Eratosthenes, the ancient Greek guy in 200 BC, he worked it out with two sticks. And a tape measure to measure their shadows. Diego Rivera says the English Bigfoot is not mentioned in the Bible. So that must be wrong. Reminds me of a Bill Hicks, you know. No dinosaurs in the Bible? Oh. James Tilly Matthews says, I'm still holding out for free energy from Carlo Nipton, aka John Hutchison. What's all this stuff about John Hutchison being a cross-dresser? He's true. I mean, like, someone showed me some videos of a guy, obviously like a transvestite. Is that John Hutchison? Well, I don't know anything about that. I mean, I've only heard rumors about that, but yeah, I mean, the free energy thing from him is really interesting, definitely. What's this? Videos from the underground. There's a link to another 20 years and back. Whistleblower talks about covert Space Marines recruitment. All right. Well, thanks for the information. Videos from the underground. That's the guy, I think you said. Dave Hinkle says, I probably know more about. Right. Am I ghosted or being ignored? Dave, no one's ignoring you. He says, I'm getting through the comments. The comments are getting ahead of me a little bit. I'm gonna give this a. When it gets to 2 hours, I'm going to wind it up. All right, because it's another 20 minutes, and we're at the 2 hour point. I'm going to wind it up. James Tilly Matthews. Now we get Lime Specs. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Night night. 69 food kit. Get some life. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? What's this? Another link. Can't write. Can't have been. Oh my god. Bloody hell. Is that John Hutchison? Oh dear. I'll sub to the channel. There we are. I'll watch it later, but blimey. James, that's John Hutchison? I don't know what's going on there. Okay. It doesn't just that whatever's going on there doesn't discredit any of the scientific work he did. Stan Smith says, have you invested in vitamin D3, Ben? You should take 5. I haven't yet, but I've got vitamin C. Dave Hinkle says, have you carefully scrutinized the hollow model, helio model with intellectual honesty? Yes, I think I have, Dave. Stan Smith, right, a dump. It was actually not quite that. I thought it might be, but it turned out it wasn't. I'm back. P900 Coolpix, hello. No, I'm fine. I'm not throwing up 69 food cats. No, I'm back. It's all right. James, the Blue Avians, James. Yeah. Heliocentrism is kind of a separate thing from spherical Earth, because there were people who accepted the spherical Earth but still believed in geocentrism. It was only like when Galileo and other people they worked out simply from watching where the planets go, because people used to think the planet's movement was random. And planetos, it means wanderer in Greek, because it's used to wander everywhere. And these Galileo just worked out, whoever it was, I can't remember, Copernicus, whoever it was, worked out that if you imagine these, if you just create a model where the sun is at the center and the Earth is just another planet, the movements then no longer are random, and they make perfect sense. Diego Vera, my toilet is made of titanium. A shared toilet. Oh, I thought it was strong shared. Well, it's shared. We don't know our toilet each, you know. Plankton West is the only thing flat Earth has to fear is sphere itself. His sphere itself. Very good. Stan Smith, is that PG tips I see, Ben? You know that white is loaded with fluoride, is it? Oh, it is. That's my tea. Yeah, you could see it when I stood up. Michael Mabus. Hello, Mr. Mabus. Kyle Irving knows what's up. You're not in relation to David, are you? TK, have a lemsip, Ben, an early night. I'm gonna call this I'm gonna start winding it up at 11. Right, that's a 2 hour point. I'm not going on like till midnight like I did one night. Mel O'Brien says, by the way, the Romans drove the nails through the wrists, not the palms, so the stigmata folks are fake. Well, it's odd, Mel, because like you get stigmatics that they have it on there. There's some which is on their wrist, but most are on their arms, because most Jesus's pictures of Jesus have them going through the wrist, and also the wound on the side. It sort of varies from one side to the other. It doesn't necessarily mean they're fake, but if it's like a psychosomatic thing, it's a big one. John Cutter says, I hope you've washed your hands. Yes, I have. No, Dave, it makes perfect sense. I've told you. The water-covered spheroid works because of the force of gravity, which hold the water is flat from the point of view of the water. It is flat because it is a level, because up is towards the zenith, down is towards the center of the earth and nadir. So the surface of the water is always at a 90-degree angle to that. Well, on a sphere with a gravitational field, then it simply hugs the surface of the sphere. Because in a gravitational field, effectively within a gravitational flux, we do live on a flat world. Because from the point of view of gravitational flux, it is flat, and it's like a scalar in which down is that way and up is that way. It never changes. That scalar is always the same, and therefore you could just go on forever, just going around and around the world, and the gravity will be as far as the force of gravity is concerned, it's exactly the same. P900, there's infinite globe proofs. Mel, I think that the Dune series is not as good as the David Lynch film. It really is not. Dave, I'm not ignoring you. I know you're being civil. I don't ignore people or ban them unless they're rude. 69 Phuket says, bets on the Romanians don't wash their hands. I don't know. I've only known one Romanian. And he did wash his hands. He was actually a very clean man. He was a porter at my hospital. Racer FC says, what the FE is going on here? Well, you will see, won't you? Dave, I am addressing your objective questions. I look like Frank Black from the Pixies. Oh, I like the Pixies, yeah. On the great, yeah, sort of grunge, the great grunge 90s, yeah. Where are we? I'm going back again. Oh, how much is here? I don't know if I'll get through all these questions. The Flat Earth movement has supporters all over the globe, says Plankton. Yeah. I speak smatterings of Pleiadian, Avian, Reptoid, and Welsh. Nightly Shadow Pleiadian, Avian, Reptoineg. And Camanai? No. Welsh is weird. Welsh is not weird. Welsh is a very logical language. Which is it's very, very easy to learn actually compared to most other languages. Just once you get over the pronunciation, that's the only real difficulty, is the pronunciation, which is unusual. Same with Dutch. Dutch is very similar to German. It has an odd pronunciation. The original natives who fled the Romans. Yeah. Dave Ingle says, I haven't had any demonstrable proof. I do not claim to know what it is. Dave, I'm not going to repeat the points I made in this video, but I do suggest you watch the recording and feel free to comment underneath the recording if you like. But there is demonstrable proof that the spherical Earth model is real. 69 Phuket went to high places and to low places. Videos, yeah. I mean, I'm suspicious of the opposition parties in this country, but God knows, if someone wants to vote UKIP or Brexit Party, it's fine. Dave Hinkle, NASA images were enough to prove the globe to you. No. Dave, you've joined very late in this video. I started at 9 p.m. If you come here at the beginning, you see I do answer your questions. Watch the recording. I'm not going to delete this. It's all right, this video will still be up. I'm not going to delete it at the end of the live stream. I will keep the recording for you, okay? Claire and Lime Specs having a discussion. Good-looking honky. Oh, hello. Ben, ahoy, mate. Peter North here from America. Old porn, very educational stream. Old porn? What are you saying? I've got my clothes on. Dave Finkel, globe doesn't fall. No. Water does fold on convexivity when there's a gravitational field. It does. Pat Riot. Oh, right. Let's talk about Eric Noy again. I don't know anything about that. Sorry. Dave Finkel, does not concern you that one of your Gopher-proof guys is 2,000 years old. Jesus? I didn't ask Jesus about the flat Earth. FPV Angel. Hello, FPV. How are you? Theory is the globe. It can't be proven. And we have been looking for years. I think we can. He's gone trans, Mr. Ben Counters. Well, like John Hutchison. I think that really shook me up seeing him like that. I really did. I don't know if I'll ask Andrew Johnson. Maybe he can enlighten me on that. I don't know. Mel O'Brien says he's having a discussion with Dave Hinkle. Good-looking honky. If we don't stop Muslim invaders, we're never going to find the truth on it. No, look, it's not a Muslim invasion. All right, I talked about this on my. What was it? I reply to comments. It's the invaders are already here and they're already in control. They are the Illuminati. There's no Muslim invasion. Radical Islamists are being used as a tool. They're being deliberately indoctrinated and created as a tool. I've done entire videos talking about this. Dave Hinkle, no. What you said does not make perfect sense. It doesn't. Zero-G aircraft says FP Angel shows what would happen if passengers in an aircraft try to fly around the ball. Yes, but again, it's like the aircraft thing's like the water. It's in a gravitational field. Diego Rivera says, will Britain have a trans prime minister? Well, I think Michael Gove already is. So we might well, yes. Videos for the Underground says there's something strange about John Hutchison. Well, from what I've just seen, yes. That was quite a shock when I saw that. That did shake me up, yeah. Claire says, we've all looked into flat earthism and the helium model is correct, yes. Dave says, all I would need is practical demonstrable proof of the globe claims. Dave, we've provided it. You've come in late to this lesson. Wait till the end, watch the recording, and then feel free to comment underneath in the comments box. The helium model's not cartoons. It's NASA don't lie about everything. Neil, exactly. What we see in the sky is exactly what we'd expect to see. The globe model fits in perfectly with the observations. No, it's not correct because we say so, Dave. The globe model is correct because it fits in with our observations. Jason Tomlinson, hello. The heliocentric model has more holes than Swiss cheese. Interesting piece of rhetoric. There's no argument there. Good-looking honky says the Earth is as round as Tina Turner's booty. Oh, it's not quite that round. Tina Turner's booty is very round indeed. It's just it's perfectly round. Mwah. Shalom, shalom. Hello, greetings. The fool on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes in his head tell him the earth is spinning round. That sounds like something from that sounds like something you see stuck to a fridge, but it's not true. The person on the hill sees the sun going down, and the eyes on the head tell him that, but then of course so do the observations. It's perfectly reasonable for us to think when we see that the earth is spinning round, because it is spinning round. That's what we would see on a spinning globe, and how we do see it. And it's not just what we see; it's the other observations as well. It's everything. FPV Angel says, "Go out and prove yourself. You can live on a spinning ball. No one else. We can live on a spinning ball, and it's perfectly feasible." The blue avians will see the blue avians. Those chicken things that Corey Good and David Wilcock talk about. I've never seen one of those, outside of the London Zoo. I'm sure they've got one. They've got one in a cage somewhere, those things. Village Idiot Control. That's a good name. So why can't we see the sun's light at night using a telescope? Yeah, because the sun... I think you're being sarcastic, and I agree. The sun is below the horizon. It's that simple. P900, we haven't just seen a few pretty pictures. Dave Hinkle, we are checking our logic. Things in the sky, it's not just that. He lost 69 Phuket. Helios Airlines flight, they're all dead. They fell from the sky, lack of oxygen. Yeah, but that's not because the plane flew into space. That's because the cabin depressurized. They had a leak, and and it basically went pop like a balloon, and everyone suffocated, including the pilot. Shalom Shalom says, a plane that does not change altitude will do the same thing as the sun as it flies overhead. It will fly into the horizon and ground. Well, it won't. It will fly over the horizon, like everything else does, because we're on a curved surface. It's like things going over a hill. FPV Angel, the lights in the sky have nothing to do with the ground. They do if they behave in a certain way. So James City Matthews says, I believe everything on Project Camelot. Kerry Irwin is a truth harpy. Kerry Cassidy. James, I believe there's a lot of things on Project Camelot I think are very interesting and true. Not everything. Some of the things they have on there are not true. Shalom, Shalom, all parallel lines converge. Well, Shalom, it's this thing. The horizon is not a convergence of points. It is, what is it? It is literally, it is basically it's as far as you can see to the edge, and then what you see over, it's like what you see on a hill. You're going up a hill, it's curved, you can't see the top. Then the top comes into view. 69 Phuket, get some Zs. I will, mate, in a minute. I'll wrap this up at 11. So perhaps you could. I might not be able to finish your questions, so I'll start wrapping it up in a few minutes. All right. 69 Phuket is already asleep. Village Idiot Control says, if the Earth is flat, how can the sun and moon be observed going down? Yeah, past the horizon while not getting smaller. Well, believe it or not, Village Idiot Control. They have an answer for this. They say it's to do. What was it? I can't even remember how they explain it. But it's nonsense. It's total nonsense. TK, hospital porters always wash their hands. We do indeed. We have to. In fact, when I was at the hospital, we have to use alcohol rub. Not normal soap. It used to make my hands dry up like anything. You wouldn't believe. Because to kill the germs, so we weren't infecting patients. Dave Finkel says, don't believe anything anyone else says. Prove it yourself. I don't, Dave. I don't believe everything you see or anyone else says. I do prove it for myself. FPV Angel, if it's a globe, why are people debunking it? Because they've been taken in with the falsehood. It's this flat Earth community now, I think, is kind of like spiraling downwards, building up, reinforcing its own delusions. And these conferences where people go and they talk about flat Earth and things like that. Do they allow globalists in? Because the actual flat Earth community, the flat Earth conference in Birmingham, they didn't say globalists were banned. I was thinking of going along just for have a laugh, but they didn't have any globalist speakers. Maybe they should have a globalist speaker. Have a debate panel. No, I'd be absolutely fine with that. Shalom says, lots of moisture in the air acts like a giant magnifying glass. No, it doesn't. Moisture in the air actually causes haze, that's another thing which limits your view. Because you can't see through it, because there's so much of it. It's like seeing through a cloud. That's why you get a hazy weather. Lots of moisture in the air prevents you seeing the horizon sometimes. That's why I said when I was on Skegness Beach, I couldn't see the wind farm the whole time. Sometimes it was hidden by the haze. That is water vapor in the atmosphere. Shalom says, people have measured by pixels in the sun. It does get smalling depending on the weather and location. Pixels? There are no pixels in the sun. So if you look for a solar telescope, if you look for a telescope, any astronomical object, don't look at the sun through a telescope, you'll blind yourself. Are you saying that it's just pixelated at certain points? John Thompson, you don't think airplanes just appear smaller in the distance? I actually met a guy once who thought airplanes were delusions. He said that the planes. We live near. He lives in North London near the glide path for Heathrow, and he thought the planes flying over his head were illusions. Dave Hinkle says, gravity. You mean an unproven theory? Which one, Newton or Einstein? Well, both. I mean, they both. The latter built on the former. So I'm just going to repeat a Monty Python sketch now. All right. If there's no gravity, why does the pen do that? What makes the pen go down to the ground? Now, the old idea was because they're both earth elements, that they attract each other through some magnetic force. That was the pre-Newtonian view. Newton proved otherwise. Newton proved there was an attractive force. Mellow Bryce says most flat earthers are millennials. They tend to be quite demographically homogenous. Actually, I found. I don't think there's particular age or race thing. I mean, they're generally mostly men. I mean, there's a sexual imbalance, but then you get that across the alternative community. It tends to be male dominated. That's not a bad thing, by the way. I've done an entire video about that. It's not a bad thing. Good looking honky says gravity's a bloody bastard. I'll tell you what, mate. If you're hanging from a balcony at 550 stories in New York, yes, it is. I'd be cursing gravity's name. Cosmic Claire says, don't waste your time with the flat iron, Ben. He's just trolling. No one can believe that nonsense with a straight face. Thanks, Claire. I'm kind of just I think I'm just using him at the moment. Not really. He doesn't realise it, but I'm toying with him. Chris Hayes. Hello, Chris. Gravitational fluff. Gravity's real. Village Idiot Control is challenging. Shalom, shalom. Glow Proof Zero says, there's no zero glow proof? Really? Right, where are we now? Go up. Oh my goodness, there's 58 people watching. I might have to pull the plug before all the comments are done. I'm sorry. Where are we now? Maybe I'll avoid things that are off topic. Someone's posting about Paul McCartney. I think I might have to give that a break. Eratosthenes, right? Okay. Oh, you are now. Okay. So it will apply. Yeah, Shalom, you're right. It's perpendicular to the surface. Exactly, perpendicular to the surface at 90 degrees. Within a gravitational field where it's just level, water is level at a point on the Earth's surface. Every point on the Earth's surface, the water is level. From the position just of gravitational fields, it is flat. The only reason it's not flat is because the gravitational field is basically, as I said, it follows the Earth. Down is towards the center of the Earth, up is towards the heavens. If all we had was sensors that detected gravity and nothing else, right, then the Earth would appear flat to us. The globe is a prison from your mind. Oh, shut up, Dave. Yeah, you got to start making proper points. These rhetorics are no good. All these rhetorics are no good. Yeah, Village Idiot Control. You know how rubber tires invented. It didn't stop wooden wheels beginning to roll. Yes. I'm going to skip some of these comments. Sorry. Shalom. I'll leave Shalom and Village Idiot to slog it out. And I'll just... I'm going to have to just skip some of these comments. Sorry. Otherwise I'll be here till midnight again. I can't handle that. Yeah, Eratosthenes, not Jesus. Fair enough. Yeah. Shalom says, Jesus saves us. All right. I got the impression you were Jewish because of your name, but well, you always convert. You know what I mean? You can always convert. James C. Matthews says, shitty blue fleeces won't help this time. No, well, I don't think he'll approve of me doing this video, Andrew, actually. His idea, I think his tactic for dealing with the flat earth situation is just do not deal with it at all. I mean, I agree with his views on the flat earth. I think it's insane. I think it's nonsensical, but my tactics for dealing with it are different from his. My strategy is to engage and discredit rather than to ignore. So that's where I disagree with Andrew. So of course he won't help me with this because he doesn't share my strategy. No, we're not ad hominem, Dave. Where are we now? I can skip some comments now. It's now 11 o'clock, gone 11 o'clock. So no more comments, please. I'm not going to discuss Paul McCartney this evening. I've done more videos on that. All right. Dave Hinkle says, please visit the channel Beyond the Imaginary Curve. Oh, and I know there's a Flat Earth documentary which I'll watch at some point if I want to joke. I'm going to get rid of troll comments now. But people, there have been no trolls this evening, actually. No, none of it. I don't just assume it's a globe, FB Angel. I do prove it. You've got to realise you and Dave have come in late to this lesson. James Tilly Matthews says, Iran is the new Fernando Poo. Hey, James, you an Illuminatus fan like me? All hail Discordia. Steve says, get some rest. I will in a minute, yeah. James Tilly Matthews says, if Flat Earth was on the table, how do we know? I love your sense of humour, guys. I really do. Right, where are we? Yeah, apple cider vinegar. Actually, my daughter's got some of that. I'll ask her. Ranty Flat Earth. Hello, Ranty Flat Earth. You've really... you're coming right at the end, you know. You should turn up 2 hours earlier. Hello, Zephyrin Cochrane. Another one who's just arrived at the end. Oh, dear. Okay. I will check it out. I will check out Beyond the Imaginary Curve. I know there's a thing called Beyond the Curve, which is a movie, and the Flat Earthers have made a movie now, which should be amusing. Right, where did I get to? Okay, Pat Riot. My ex-wife was once an attractive. Oh, dearie me. You really are in trouble, you know. You're really going to get into trouble. It'll be a dozen bunches of flowers now, you know, to get you out of this doghouse. Shalom says, I can't have it spinning at 104 quid. Well, it does because, yeah. I don't know, you turning flat now, Shalom. Of course it does. It's it's rotating. Of course, the edge is rotating faster, isn't it? There's at the center, like every circle. This is why the Coriolis effect exists. Night. Hello, Denise. Night. I'll take care of the coal. Thank you. Night, Denise. Baron Boscovich. Hello. How are you? Channel X. All right. Channel X is arguing with FPV now. I think Ranty Flat Earth and FPV appear to be allies. Shalom says you can't have gravity equal to the centrifugal force. Not to be equal does not work. Well, you can. Well, that's what actually happens in an orbiting spacecraft. Okay. But on the surface, you see that the actual inertia is so low, it doesn't matter. Because it's turning once every 24 hours. If you sat on a carousel traveling on the back of a horse that only went around once every 24 hours, you wouldn't feel any centrifugal effect. Like the horses lean outwards, don't they? They're on a pivot, and they actually go outwards. They lean out like that on a moving carousel. If it's going once every 24 hours, there'd be negligible centrifugal effect, and you wouldn't need it, would you? Who's Sandra? Someone's greeting Sandra. Channel X is here. Who says, where am I now? TK's eating hummus. Okay. Shalom says, I am Jewish. The first believers in Jesus were Jewish. Jesus was a Jew, after all. I suppose you get what you mean, but do you believe he was like the Son of God? That's the difference between Judaism and Christianity. Right. I'm going to have to go through here. I'm going to go to the end now because I just want to get rid of any trolley comments. Channel X, I've behind the curve. Yes, behind the curve. I've heard about it. I'm going to watch it at some point, just for the fun of it. So, Ranty Flat Earth. Yes, I will. Can you have gas pressure without a container, Ranty Flat? No, you can't. But you can. If there's something pushing it down, you will. You'll get. You talk about is Ranty. No, my indoctrination is not very deep. I've told you. I'm discussing this rationally. I'm trying to enter into a rational dialogue about this, which is not easy. I know. I know a lot of people don't want to talk rationally about it. People on both sides want to just avoid, don't want the conversation I'm having. Flat Earth. All right, it's a Flat Earth debate. Okay. Was that at one of the conferences? So, Ranty Flat Earth, you don't need, you're talking about surface pressure in the atmosphere. Well, it's the reason we have a pressure is because the mass of the gas within our atmosphere is compressed at a lower level because of the force of gravity. In the same way that the sea is exactly the same. Water is exactly the same. If you dive into the sea and swim around, you'll be absolutely fine. But if you want to go to the depths of the ocean, you need a submarine with an armored hull with size 10 inches thick, because the pressure there is so high. The atmosphere is exactly the same. Someone said something about Boris Johnson. I'll cover Boris Johnson in another video when they got a new prime minister. Right, I'll do a new live stream or video about the new prime minister. You're welcome, Ranty Flat Earth. Ranty Flat Earth, I will watch it, okay? And I believe I've read Eric Dubé's book, so I have tried to I've read his first book anyway. Yes, you can. You don't need a container if you've got a gravitational field, Ranty. Dave Hinkle, you're welcome. You've been civil as well. You have, and I expect that. I don't mind if any flathead wants to post here. That's absolutely fine. When you're polite, that's absolutely fine. Iman Padrima, hello. How are you? We're nearly at the end now. We're nearly at the end. Lucy Miller, thank you. You're welcome, Lucy. You're very welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Cosmic Claire, good night, Cosmic Claire. Thanks for. And hello, Stephen Holmes Truth Seeker. Hello, how are you? Ranty, gravity's a force. Well, Turing, that's off topic. There's 62 people watching now, but it's now coming up to 11:15. I think I'm gonna have to leave it soon. All right, guys. I'm going to have to leave it. So thank you very much. Ranty Flat Earth, Jason Tomlinson. Thank you very much. Mel O'Brien, Lucy Miller, Nega Talks. Peace, Rusty. Peace. Feel free to come back anytime, all of you. You've all been very polite tonight. Not always to each other, but you have been to me. But you guys, you can, I'll leave you to it if you want to have a go at each other. That's fine. Night, shalom. No, shalom. You're very welcome. Thank you for posting. Oh, thanks, Claire. What's all this down? Oh, I've got something down here. I've spilt something. I don't know what it is. Thank you, Claire, and thanks for posting. It was good fun, wasn't it? Yes. The Earth is a fucking planet. Yes, it is. Oh, Lucy, you can't chat here, I'm afraid, because I'm now going to end the stream. But feel free to join us on another video in the chat box or in the live chat if I do a live stream and things like that. Strawberry Fields Forever. I love that song, 69 Fuga. Yeah. Night, Eman Padima. Night, Neil Desperandum. By the way, Neil, has Richard D. Hall got back to you? about the Manchester thing. I know that's off topic, but yeah, I know TK. I know you guys can go on all night. I can't. You're welcome, Lucy. Okay, night, Chris. You're welcome. I know you. I know. I know you don't agree, Chris. But thanks for the civil discussion. Yes. Atmospheric compression. Exactly. Yes. FPV Angel. That's not fair. Mel, they didn't prove anything. Night, Mel. Night, FPV Angel, and Negatalks. Night, Ranty Flat Earth. Night, Jason. Night, TK. I will Deputy returns. You too. Night. And Stephen, take care of yourself. Keep dry. Night. Night, Zephram. Thank you very much. Night, TK. Night, Lucy. Night, Jason. Right. Okay. All right, Neil. Thanks for letting me know. Night, 69 Phuket. Night. Paul Culliford. Good night. Get E-Man. Night. Night, Rusty Flat Earth. Take it easy, Mel. All right, guys. Night. You've been great. You all have. There's still 59 people watching. I'm going to have to end it now. And it's been a good live stream. And as I said, this is kind of a deal. All right. I don't really want to go into this again. So on other videos I make, if you ever want to talk about the flat Earth, I just refer you to this video. You can watch it and you post comments there. Hapanuo, hospital reports against the New World Order, pride and dignity. Feel free, Rusty. All kinds of people sub to me, weird as you can imagine. Flat flurfers. Night, Jim Bob. Oh, I will, Chris. Night. Night, Plankton Breath. I'm pressing the end stream button now. You guys have been great. Take care.